Good afternoon, today. Thank you all for being here today. Beautiful day out there. I know you're all enjoying the weather. Let's get started with Larry with the national anthem, please.
All right, everybody rise. Right. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, save us as star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now Rosemary for our
Please bow with me. We stay focused on the objectives we have for the world: peace, tranquility, a true brotherhood of man, freedom from hunger, from oppression, from sickness, the freedom to choose our own destinies. We affirm our commitment to our simple Rotary four-way test for all we do and support. We reaffirm our commitment to high ethics in all we do, and we give thanks for all the blessings, opportunities, and responsibilities that befall us as Rotarians. Please, Lord of the universe, help us to serve. Amen. You all can be seated. We have some wonderful messages today. If you will stand when I say your name, then we'll give you a Rotary welcome when everybody's been introduced. First, we have Deanne Martin, a guest of Inez Russell. Oh, she's in line. There she is. Katie Garrett, guest of Trish Griffin. Elizabeth Cox, guest of Susan Kincannon. Lenny Caballero, guest of Curtis Brown. And Candace Manning, guest of Kathy Schroeder. Welcome to Rotary. Dr. Morrison will introduce our student guests.
Okay, thank you, Rose. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you two outstanding students representing the Vanguard College Preparatory School. Would you guys stand up? And they're accompanied today by Rotarian Bill Moore, the head of the school, and counselor Anna Van Dyke. Anna, would you stand? So on our line is Kate Lou Rockville, and she is president of the student council. And as for the yearbook, as involved in the National Honor Society, she plays basketball and softball. So, Kaylee, would you tell us your plans?
Like you said, I'm Katie Lou. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for allowing me to be here. It's a great honor. But I plan to either go to Texas A&M University or Auburn University to study business.
on my right is Noah Hale, and he's the senior class president. He's involved in online, theater, multimedia, and Voice of Vikings. His community service includes the Young Men's Service League and Waco Children's Theater. Noah, can you tell us your college plans?
Hello, my name is Noah Hale. Like Kevin said, thank you for having us. It's an honor. I plan to study film and digital media at either Baylor, SMU, or the University of Houston.
Okay, so here's
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. And now we have Jim Newton to talk about our literacy program.
Good afternoon, all. Our DAC grant this year is with the Greater Waco Advanced Healthcare Academy of the GWHHA. I don't really know Dean Matt Rambo, who is Dean of the school. We're going to contribute $2,900 for in-class library and in-house tutors. From Rotary to deal with what does literacy look like in the workplace. Their goal is to provide industry with workers that are skilled and workplace ready. I think this is a great opportunity for us to give back, and we'll be putting together a schedule throughout the fall and spring as soon as we get our final okay on this. So we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Jim. I know that WAC has a great program along with WAMA that Waco ISD and surrounding ISDs created, and it's a really great program at WAC, especially for the healthcare, getting kids introduced to healthcare and excited about healthcare, and so I'm really proud to be part of it. Thank you for doing that, Jim. A couple quick announcements. Mike Stone couldn't be here today to give you an update on our service project, but we had a really fun, fast-paced service project a couple weeks ago. We participated with the Baylor School of Accounting on their Project 5810, and we boxed up meals. And the great thing was these meals are staying local, so we, as a group, over 700 volunteers helped, and we mocked up over 101,000 meals in the 3 hours. But as a group of Rotarians, we had over 20 Rotarians there. We boxed up over 3,000 meals ourselves within that hour. That was really cool. And the neat thing about that was we had Rotarians, we had spouses, we had children. We had a really good time. It was really fun. It was great to be part of that project. We appreciate Baylor allowing us to participate in them, and I appreciate all the Rotarians that showed up and I volunteered for that. I want to remind everybody that our fall dues have come out, our semi-annual dues that come out in the fall were sent out early this week. If you please will reply to those and get those paid as soon as possible. Catherine is going to be out of town for a couple of weeks, and the sooner we can get those to her so she can get the record straight. If you didn't get an email, everything should come via email. If you did not receive an email over the last day or two with your dues, please let me or Catherine know, and we'll get that sent to you again. Kathy Davis, are you here? If everybody can see, we have a new banner here that we just got up today, and Kathy Davis designed this and helped us put this together, and so we just wanted to say thank you. Do you mind standing up, Kathy? Thank you so much for your work on that. All right, I've got something fun for you real quick before we get into our great speaker. I have a trivia question for everyone. Now, I want y'all to think on this. You can talk out loud for a minute if you want. But can anybody tell me who is our longest serving active member and how long that person has been a member? That is correct. It's David Dow. He is here today. How long 27 years he's been a proud member of Waco Rotary.
I made up in Pulaski, Michigan.
Say that again?
I made up in Pulaski, Michigan.
Really? Wow. That's great. Thank you so much for being a member, a long-standing member, Dave. Okay, if everybody will stand up for a minute. Real quickly, we're going to see how long people have been members of Rotary. Okay, if you have been a member of Rotary for 5 years or less, go ahead and sit down. All right? If you've been a member of Rotary for 10 years or less, please sit down. 15 years or less? All right, now we're getting some of our great members here. 20 years or less? 25? Wow. 30 years or less? 35? Good grief. 40? 45 years or less? All right, that leaves David. And now our chair is David Daniel Marley.
First, I want to thank everybody for all your wonderful program ideas. You're making it very easy to be program chair this year, and that may have never been said before, ever. But I'm also super lucky that we're only meeting twice a month, and I'm not arranging 52 speakers. So I actually connected with Ken because we live in the same neighborhood. We have this awesome Facebook page that comes in handy and sometimes is entertaining. And so I reached out to Ken because I think that as leaders, we can always use some new pointers and just some refreshing. And Ken began his leadership career in his mid-20s, so just a couple years ago, at a large medical corporation. Over 20 plus years since then, Ken has worked in the not-for-profit sector, recruiting, developing, and maintaining teams of volunteers. Ken has spoken to audiences across the globe on issues of leadership, faith, and team building. Ken joined the John Maxwell team in 2017 and became the executive director in 2019. Ken has been married to his wife, Jennifer, for 25 years and has 3 amazing children. When he's not speaking or training on leadership or in a wheelchair, he enjoys camping and cooking and trying new recipes. So, please welcome Ken.
Thank you, everyone. Give me just a second here. I have some mobility, just not the greatest mobility right now. I was in a single vehicle accident. It was all my fault, in case you were wondering, so children do not text and drive. So, if you want more on that story, I'll tell you later. I'd love to meet some of you. I know I was kind of over here trying to cram some food in my mouth. So before we get started though, I just wanted to talk to everybody. How many of you had parents that told you to stay away from certain people, to not go to certain places, to be, right? There were bad influence, right? Or you get into trouble if you went to these certain places. I don't know exactly what those places are in Waco. I just moved here in 2020, so thankfully, as far as I know, I'm not getting into any of those. But the places we go and the things that we do and the people in our lives really influence who we are. And what we do is the result that we get. Things happen every day that have some level of influence on us. So now, along with actions and words influencing us, each one of us possesses the same power to influence others through our actions and words. One very simple form of influence is a smile, right? You smile at people, and they smile back, right? Or you walk into an elevator and you say hi. Usually people respond and say hi back to you, right? You're influencing them. Unconsciously, you're influencing them. If you're in the workplace and so you get berated, you kind of respond back hostilely, or vice versa. Maybe you berate somebody and they get a little hostile. Somebody honks at us in traffic and we honk back or maybe give them the one finger salute, right? I mean, there's always these things that are influencing us and kind of triggering us to some degree or another. So it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Ken Noble. I am an executive director, not the executive director. There's multiple of us. There's about 300 of us across the globe with the John Maxwell team. Well, formerly the John Maxwell team is now Maxwell Leadership. And for me, my company is Noble Leadership Solutions, where I develop people. I do one-on-one coaching, consulting, those kind of things. I train leaders, so doing this right here, I go into companies and organizations, and then I do public speaking as well. I inspire the masses. I love to do public speaking, whether faith-based or for nonprofits and fundraisers and those kind of things. So if I can ever help you guys out in any of those areas, just let me know. I'm really appreciative for Dana for inviting me. So I've got two promises for you today. One, I promise that you're going to have something that you can take away immediately and that you can apply to your life right away. I'm going to have the privilege of sharing with you today one of the greatest skill sets that has helped me grow and develop as an individual. So when you walk out of this room today, you're going to have something you can apply right in your workplace or in your home life or in your community life, right? And make a difference in your career or where you're heading. Right? Not only am I going to give you something along those lines that you can use right away, but if you like what you hear today, I'm going to give you the opportunity to continue further. I'd love to set up a meeting with you and see how I can help you in those ways. So at the end of this talk, there'll be an opportunity if you want just to reach out to me. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today, this is a precursor. You're going to say in your mind, yes, I know, I've heard that before. Right? How many times have you been into a leadership meeting or lunch and learn and you go, yeah, I know that. Right? The question though is not do you know it, but do you do it? Right? The difference between those who do and those who don't is those who do it. Right? It's not about what you know, it's about what you apply. So, and that's the biggest gap in most of our lives. Like, I know what to do to lose weight, to be stumpy, handsome instead of rocking the dad bod. It's eat less food and exercise more. Right? Maybe pump some weights. I know what to do. But clearly I'm not doing that, right? And it's the same way in our leadership skills. We hear these great things about leadership and training and development, and a lot of what happens is that we know what we're supposed to do, but we don't do it. So today I'm going to be talking about becoming a person of influence, and this is based off of John Maxwell's book, Becoming a Person of Influence. So today I want to ask you, who do you influence? So at the Maxwell team, we define leadership like this. Leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. Now that's contrary to what society and tradition tells us, right? If you go to Webster's dictionary, it says it defines leadership as a position, a place, an office, or a title of leadership. But for the most part, the majority of people that I speak to, they don't function that way. They don't believe that they're leaders unless they have that title or position. But you see, the way we define it at the Maxwell team is it's influence, nothing more, nothing less. John Maxwell's the premier leadership guru globally. He's been writing books for over 40 years, has over 100 books. One of only 5 authors to have 5 platinum books. I mean, he's an amazing author. He's changed and transformed thousands of lives, me included in that. My first personal growth and development book was the John Maxwell book. So he's been a huge influence on my life. But I want you to think about the person who's had the greatest impact and influence in your life. The person that's helped you go further, helped you to go faster. All right? So when you think about that, I want you to raise your hand. Who's the person that's impacted you and influenced you the most? Raise your hand when you have that person in your mind. Okay? Just think about it for a second. Who's been the most influential in your life? Some of you have had no influential people in your life. I'm sorry. Meet with me for a free one-on-one session. No, I'm just kidding. So, all right. How many of you would say that it was a mother or a father or a brother or a sister, right? How many of you was it a teacher? Right? How many of you would say that it was a person of title or that they held a position that you worked for specifically? Right? There's about 4 of you in this room of 60. Right? no matter where I go, when I ask that question, that's the lowest response rate, is somebody that you work for specifically actually influenced you to be better, do more. But isn't that what leadership is called to do for people? To help them to grow more, to do more, to be more, to have more? So, who is it that you influence is kind of a key topic for us today, because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. John Maxwell's been saying this for decades. So I want to remove from your mind in a short period of time that influence comes from a title, because clearly it doesn't. We've all worked for people who've had titles that didn't really influence us in a positive way. So what we're going to do is, on your table, I've got several blank pieces of paper on your table. Hopefully you have a pen, because note takers are history makers, and if you don't, well, I'm sorry, I didn't bring pens today, I couldn't find them. It's a little hard to navigate my office in a wheelchair. So, and I forgot to ask my wife to help me last night before she left for work this morning. But if you have a pen, on that white piece of paper, I want you to draw a big circle kind of in the center of the page, right? Big circle in the center of the page, and I want you to turn it into a compass, right? So you write north at the top, south at the bottom, west on the left-hand side, and east or E on the right-hand side, right? So it's a compass. North, south, east, west. Real simple. Nice and big, okay? This is what we're going to call the leadership compass. So I want you to label it north, south, east, and west, right? Just like a compass. And I want you to put a dot right in the very center of that circle. A dot right in the very center of the circle. In the middle of that circle, that dot, that is what we call self-leadership. Everybody say self-leadership. Look at your neighbor and say, that's where it all begins. You can tell I was a pastor for a while, right? So look at your neighbor. Tell me, whatever, no. The first question you have to ask yourself, though, is, would I follow you? Right? Because if there's not a resounding yes to that question, would I follow me, then we've got some serious work to do. Right? We must always work first, hardest, and longest on ourselves before we can influence anyone else. I mean, it's just the natural law, natural way of things. If you're not working on yourself, you'll never be able to influence others. If we can't lead ourselves, we can't lead anyone else. It's really simple. Now, if we draw a line from that dot straight to the south, right? That's what we call positional leadership. Everybody say positional leadership. Oh man, are you guys awake? Positional leadership. All right, like I said, I was a pastor for almost 20 years. Come on, I gotta have a little feedback from the audience. Don't worry, we're not gonna, jump up and shout and be crazy. But some of you might need it. You look like the food kind of settled in and getting a little drowsy. All right. So positional leadership is really the lowest form of leadership, and that's because people follow you because they have to, right? Because you have a paycheck, they're clocked in, whatever. But when they clock out, or you're no longer paying them, they don't even think about you anymore. You're not even in their mind. They're at home with their wife, their kids, their husband, their kids, whatever, doing their thing. Right? People follow you because they have to, not because they want to, with positional leadership. Now that if you draw a line starting at west and going straight across through the dot to east, right? This is what we call peer leadership. Peer leadership. And this kind of leadership is leadership where people follow you because they want to. Right? Your peers don't follow your lead and do the things that you influence them to do because they have to. They do it because they want to, because they believe in you, right? It's a higher level of leadership. And it takes influence to get them to follow you. See, this is why influence is so important. Now, at this level, we kind of miss some things that are important. Why would I do anything to develop my peers? Why would I do anything to develop that relationship with my peers? Right? Well, think about this. If you get promoted tomorrow, are your peers going to like that, and are they going to follow you? Right? You're working today for the leadership position you may have in the future. Now, some of you may own the company and you're like, I'm at the top of the heap and all of those things. Well, you still have to think about peer-to-peer leadership and foster that amongst your people in your organization. Right? Now, if you draw a line straight to the north from the dot, this is what we call leading up or influencing influencers. This is the highest level of leadership because at this level there's no reason whatsoever for them to follow you. right? There's no reason that your boss or your superior or whoever that's a little higher step up in the organization should do anything that you suggest or that you formulate, right? But you have to have a track record if you're going to influence those influencers, right? You have to have a proven reliability that you do what you say that you're going to do, and there's some results behind what you do as well. When you begin to influence the influencers, you begin to make a difference, right? And as Rotarians, that's kind of what you believe in, right? You're making a difference in the world around you through service, through all your values, right? And so when you begin to intentionally maximize your influence and influence the influencers, you're making a difference. So here's what you have to understand about this compass. You have to understand that every single time you walk into a room, you are somewhere on this compass. This room today that you walked into, you're somewhere on that compass today. Maybe you're still working on your self-leadership. Maybe you're kind of working with your peers and your fellow Rotarians. Maybe you're new. Maybe you've been here less than a year, right? And you're still trying to figure out how it all works. But when you go to your office, even any room that you're in, right? Whether it's a networking event or whatever, you're somewhere on this compass, right? So you need to identify how to influence those above you, how to influence those below you, and how to influence those beside you. But it starts with you. It always starts with you and your self-leadership. You see, influence is not about position. Leadership is about people. It's not about position. So I want to remove from your mind today that leadership is anything other than influence. It's influence. Nothing more, nothing less. I think I've said it at least 10 times already. And you'll probably hear it a few more times before I close in about 12 minutes. Right? As I said, people think that influence is only about the title or position. And when I get to the top of the organization, or when I get that next promotion, then I will learn how to lead. And you see, that's where you're wrong. When you get to the top, and you get that position, it's too late to learn to lead because you only have a small window. When you get to the opportunity to lead, you just have a small window to showcase your influence. And because that's what a position really is, it's really an opportunity to showcase the influence that you should have already been building. If you're a good leader, your influence is going to expand. If you're a bad leader, your influence is going to shrink. Right? If you understand the fundamentals of influence, your leadership will stand out. And if you're really a bad leader, it's going to stand out too, but not in a good way. You know what I mean? If you're a bad leader, how many of you have ever worked for a bad leader? Anybody? Am I the only one? Okay, good. I was thinking maybe it was just my dumb luck that I had to work with bad leadership, right? But the position is simply an opportunity to showcase your influence. And influence, when you think about it, when you think about your future and what you want to do and have and be, people are involved in that, right? Whether it's your supervisor or maybe it's the people that you work over, and you're a business owner and you want to retire at a certain age and sell your company. Well, honestly, if your people in your company aren't being influenced to do the right things, your company's not going to be worth anything, and so you're never going to sell it. Right? So when you think about your future and your goals and the things that you want to do and who can help you achieve those goals, influence plays a key factor. So leadership is about influence. Leadership is about people, not position. Right? Leadership is about people, not position. Sociologists tell us that even the most introverted person impacts 10,000 people over the course of their life. How many of you are introverts? That you don't like big crowds and settings like this, and you're like, oh, I've got to show up and like mingle, right? How many of you are extroverts like me and like, oh man, I love people. Give me all the meetings. I want to hang out and talk and do cocktails and don't let the club end. And like, yay, right? But even the most introverted person impacts 10,000 people, and that's accidental influence, right? You have a platform. Right? Whether it's a social media platform, whether it's a platform in a club or an organization, a platform at work, a platform in community events, like maybe you're the PTA, chair at your elementary school or whatever, right? But when you begin to be intentional about the influence that you have, then you're making a bigger difference faster than what you realize. So here's what I want to talk about. Now that we've kind of laid that foundation of understanding that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, and leadership is about people, not a position, right? We're all in the people business. We're all in the people business. And so when we talk about methods of influence, right? When we talk about methods of influence, I want to give you a better understanding of what influence is, because now I want to talk about how to influence, because your influence determines how many and how long you'll actually lead. Okay? So there's 5 of these listed. I think there's actually 7 different methods of influence. I've got 5 listed here, but I'm only going to talk about one, and that method is intimidation. How many of you have ever worked for somebody that was an intimidating leader, where it was my way or the highway? Right? That's one of the most common ways, and that was very practical in a generation before today, right? Boomers and Gen Xers do totally get my way or the highway. You do it because I pay you. If you don't do it, I'm going to fire you, right? But millennials, who are going to make 75% of the workplace in 2025, and Gen Zs, who are right around the corner, they don't work that way. So we can't work and operate and lead and influence by intimidation, because what that does is it causes people to check out, to become disengaged, right? If they don't feel like they have a voice, that it's my way or the highway, it's only your way, only Frank, only what Frank wants is what we do, well then why do I have to come up with any ideas? It stifles creativity. It stifles other avenues, it stifles other ways, and then when people get stifled in their job, they begin to disengage, and when they disengage, the productivity goes down. When productivity goes down, the company suffers and nobody understands why. That's because you've got leaders in there that are leading by intimidation. I worked, one of my communities that I work with is the Permian Basin, which is the oil industry here in Texas, and the oil field guys, that is their main form of leadership, is intimidation. Well, I'll find somebody else to take your, it's just ridiculous, and it's one of the things that we have to combat all the time, but that's the way they were trained by their boss, and then their boss was trained. So it's a systemic thing that we have to watch out for. It's one of the most common things. But intimidation leads to disengagement, which is terrible. We don't want disengagement from our people. So we have to understand, who and why do I want to influence? Why is it that I want to influence people? Sorry, there we go. Why is it that I want to influence? Right? Remember, why you influence and why you do something will ultimately determine what your level of influence with other people is. Right? Right motives are crucial to people, because leadership functions on the basis of trust. Right? Without trust, you run into a lot of trouble. Right? Without trust, influence is nothing more than coercion and manipulation. Most leaders realize that if they could just get another 10% out of all of their people, man, they'd have a lot more success, right? They have a lot more success in their thing, but in their organization. But getting that 10%, how do you do it? Well, you've got to lead by influence. You've got to pull that out of people. That's what leaders do. They bring people, they influence people to go further than they've gone before and join the journey. Right? And that takes influence. So one of the things I want to talk about is the speed of trust. How quickly can you build trust? The quote I've got up on your screen is a partial quote by Stephen Covey. And it says this. I'm going to read the whole quote. Hold on, let me put my old man glasses on. Here we go. Trust and the speed at which it is established with clients and employees is the essential ingredient for any high-performance, successful organization. From business leaders and public figures to the everyday person like you and I, in any arena, trust affects our every transaction and relationship, from the most personal to the broadest, most indirect interaction. The world is changing very fast. Big will not beat small anymore. It will be fast beating the slow. This is from Stephen Covey's best-selling book, The Speed of Trust. Right? How do you build trust with your people, the people that you're trying to influence? They want 3 questions answered. Do you care about me? Can you help me? And can I trust you? Those 3 simple questions are what people that you want to influence want to know. Whether it's your kids, your spouse, people in work, people in your community, Those 3 questions are game changers. So real briefly, I want to talk about how you can increase your influence. One is you want to add value to people. And that's real simple. You just put a 10 on their forehead and treat them like they're rock stars. Even the ones that you don't want to, do it anyways. You'll be amazed at how their attitude changes. Right? When you begin to treat people like they have value and they're worthy and you're excited for them and you want to see them grow and do and be more, it's going to change attitudes. And if it doesn't, they've got deeper issues. Right? They've got deeper issues and they probably don't really trust you. Why are you acting so nice to me all of a sudden, right? So when we add value to, influence comes from adding values to others, and so when we add value to ourselves, that's the second key. You need to add value to yourself, and when you do that, you and I become more valuable to other people as well. Right? When we add value to ourselves through sitting through lunch and learn like this, or reading a book, or learning how to become more influential, or becoming better at your skill sets, right? You become valuable to others, and that increases your influence as well. So real briefly, I want to kind of go over the reflection, because this reflection is kind of like a reflection starter kit that's going to help you improve your value, right? The value that you bring. When you increase your value, you become more valuable to others, and you can pour into them more. So this is what we call the reflection self-starter kit. All right, so it really has 3 questions that you ask yourself at the end of every day. What went right today? What went wrong today? What can I do differently tomorrow? 3 simple questions will start changing your attitude and the way you operate every single day. If you do this for the next 7 days, I promise you'll see a difference in the way that you perform in whatever area it is that you're a part of. Whether it's community-based, whether it's business-based, personal-based, whatever. You start asking yourself these 3 questions about whatever arena and area you're in, it's going to make a difference. It's going to help you increase your value that you bring to the table in any room, and it's going to increase value to those people that you work with on a regular basis, because you're beginning to become more and more influential. So, when we talk about leadership and influence, remember the basis of the compass, right? That's self-leadership. When you lead yourself better, others will follow. It's very simple. You want to gain influence, you start with your self-leadership, and then begin to be intentional about leading down, leading across, and leading up. You become a person of influence. Now, we don't have a lot of time, but when it comes to kind of mastering all of this, right, mastering your ability to positively influence others is the key to personal and professional growth. And no matter what the position, no matter what the place you find yourself in today, the biggest thing that you can make an impact on is where you're going is your leadership ability. For you young students that are here today, I mean, hearing this now at this age and really soaking it in is going to make a difference as you move forward in your life. I wish somebody would have told me this when I was 18, because I definitely was not in that kind of mindset and position. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's the last time I'm going to say it. It's been an honor today. At the end of the day, influence is powerful, both inside and outside of any organization. Learn to use it effectively and carry out tasks and achieve goals successfully. Not using manipulation for personal gain, but rather to exercise it for mutual benefit and take a sincere interest in the success of others by connecting with them. First listening and then understanding what is in their heart, and you will gain more influence. Mastering the art of influence is a powerful way of ensuring your very own success, not just the success of others. So, anybody have any questions about what I presented today? No? Everybody like it? Is that okay? I mean, everybody's still awake. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is the key distinction or the leadership approach for the new generation?
For the Gen Zs?
Yes.
So, if you do the studies, we still haven't quite figured it out. Nothing against you guys. I mean, we love you, right? We love you. But they've just barely gotten a hold of what it takes to lead millennials and what millennials want, right? right? And they're going to be 75% of the workforce by 2025. Gen Z, these younger people that are coming to the workforce, they have a lot of the same characteristics as millennials, right? They want to be heard, they want to sit at the table, they want to feel valued, they want to work for a company that has values, that is making a difference in the world. They don't want to work for just a paycheck, right? I'm a Gen Xer, I'm going to go wherever the money is, right? I mean, that's just, as a Gen Xer, it's like you work hard, and stay in that job as long as you can. But if somebody offers you more wages and more benefits, then you're going to move to that next job. That's just the way we were raised. Boomers, on the other hand, my parents' generation, you stayed with the company for 35, 40 years until you retired. But back then, the company sort of kind of took care of you, and they had pensions and all that stuff. We don't have that, right? We've got Google that gives you nap pods and all of the, all the breaks that you can handle, right? So I mean, it's a different society. It's a different matrix. And I don't know that they've really put their finger on the pulse of Gen Z yet, because it's such a young generation. And a lot of it favors what millennials like. And it's real simple to do research on this. We've got Google, and Google is a wonderful tool for learning these kind of things. There's books out there that you can buy. I've read several. It's interesting. It's an interesting thing. So, hope that answers your question. Anything else? Anything else? All right. Well, we briefly touched on becoming a person of influence. I do master classes or masterminds, however you want to call it, on this book and on this subject. I also work with people one-on-one. If you're interested in connecting with me and seeing if maybe I can help you or your organization, I would love to hear from you. But for now, I guess I turn it back over to you, Todd. Is that it? Are you closing it out? All right. Hey,
Thank you, Ken. It's always great to learn about leadership. We can always be better leaders. It's always great to continue to better ourselves. I want to re-welcome our guests that are here. Katie, one of these days we're going to make you a member. I know you're here all the time, but one of these days we're going to make you a member. But thank you to all of our guests for being here today. Thank you to our student guests from Vanguard High School. I want to remind everybody that we're getting back to our regular schedule, so we will have a meeting next Tuesday here at the club. We'll have our district governor. And we will also be packing some backpacks for kids. I have some stuff for them to take home on the weekends if they're less fortunate kids. So we plan to pack 100 of those next week. And if we have a group like this, it will only take us a few minutes to do that. But we'll do that right at the end of the meeting, and we'll get to hear what our great district governor has to say. But we will be back on our regular schedule starting next Tuesday. So we'll meet next Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday of the month, and we'll meet the third Tuesday of the month after that. Okay, if you all please stand, and we'll conclude the meeting with a four-way test. Is it the truth?
Spare all concern. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Rotary is adjourned.